Joining me today in the studio to discuss the ongoing prisoner strike in Israel is David Bedein, director of the Center for Near East Policy Research. David has spent the last 30 years as a journalist writing about the evolution of the Palestinian Authority and the incarceration of Palestinian prisoners within Israel. Thank you so much for coming in. All right, so let's begin. Now, one of the central demands of the prisoners we're hearing about is the abolishment of detention without trial. How many Palestinians are currently incarcerated without being charged right now?
There's about 4,000 who are out there who are not charged at this point. It's like a military situation where they're combatants and they're taken as not exactly as prisoners of war, but they're being held until their status can be cleared. The other thousands are very clearly have already been through the process of trial. And they've faced fair trials. The pictures you're showing are pictures that we took in the prisons while we were interviewing them, and they were very clearly how should I say, unrepented killers and attempted killers who want to be awarded. They become, in a sense, heroes in the Palestinian Authority, and that's the real issue: the fact that someone can become a killer, a mass murderer, a killer of innocence, and all of a sudden he becomes a...
Now, how long does it take until the people who are put into jail without trial receive a trial?
There's no one answer on that. Everything has to do with security concerns. The key thing is to try to... I'm not a military person. You can talk to security people. I'm a journalist and social worker. But you can take a look at what happens is that they try to keep them as far as possible away from any possibility of repeating their crimes. We're basically dealing here with the issue of recidivism. Recidivism is the possibility that a killer or any kind of criminal can do it again. And Israel signed on an international agreements, which I knew very well about as a social worker, that they're not allowed to let go people unless they have kind of a security certificate, kind of an assurance that they're not going to kill again.
Now, I mean, what civil rights do Palestinians have when arrested in the West Bank and under military law as opposed to an Israeli civil law?
They have first of all, there's 28 organizations that are currently monitoring issues of civil liberties of all kinds of Palestinians. And it's something that there's no other country, no other people that have as much monitoring of their situation. There's no clear answer to your question. That's why, in terms of what is their exact civil liberties, but in terms of the people monitoring them, it's unbelievable. And very often they monitor them without asking, well, what did you do to be here? And the assumptions that the assumption that they're just there because as a matter of fact, people who have been freed from prison often go and speak for groups around the world, certainly around Israel, and we were hanging signs saying peace now. Whereas the actuality is that there's now 9,200 killers on the streets of Israel who have served time, who have been sentenced to life imprisonment, and who are out there who have been exchanged in exchanges.
In your personal opinion, can Palestinian prisoners be rehabilitated? What means, if we were to give into some of the demands that we're seeing right now, such as access to higher education or more family visits, would that help facilitate rehabilitation?
There are 484, right now, 484 Arabs who are serving either life imprisonment or very long imprisonments who are right now taking courses in universities. That doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. Now, in terms of rehabilitation and a change, if tomorrow morning the PLO and the Palestinian Authority were to cancel their war against Israel, we'd have a different situation. But we're right now in the middle of a war. The war continues. It's certainly a low-intensity war. And on that basis, I, as a social work professional who have interviewed tens of these people in jail, I wouldn't say that any of these people would get a kind of a security certificate to get out and say, hey, they're not going to kill again. And that's one of the problems we face, because they say openly that when we get out, and if we get out, we're going to kill again. No normal Western society would allow that to happen.
Now, do you believe that settlers who attack Palestinians with stones, just like Palestinians attacking settlers with stones, should face the same sort of legal proceedings as Palestinians that are charged with the same offenses?
There is no such thing as Jews attacking Arabs like Arabs attack Jews. It doesn't exist. And I would be the first one as a Jew, as a social worker, as a regular person in Israel, to object to anything which would be how shall I say, which would violate human rights But here you have a situation of an organized situation. There was back in 1988, Daoud Kutab, the prominent Palestinian journalist, wrote a very important piece called Profile of the Stone Throwers, how we have to put children on the front lines. And what our agency has been doing, Center for Near East Policy Research, we've been filming youngsters being trained not only to throw stones, but also to use guns. And that is a violation of children's rights. Putting them on the front lines with guns, where many of them will probably be killed in the next round of fighting, that is a violation of human rights. So that's what we have to be addressing ourselves to. And the manipulation of people in jail is something else.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time.
Pleased to be here, and thank you.